barely heard you. I hear ya.
Brake, brake, brake.
Go ahead, brake.
Where'd everybody go? Yeah, I got you, Scott. I don't know if you hear me or not.
Hey, it sounds a hell of a lot better than it did.
On 127 now, climbing the hill.
Copy the 127.
I'm on Harley Charlie out there. You're faint, but I got you.
Hey, is that the same radio that you had the other day?
That is the same exact radio. Same microphone, same everything. Go ahead.
Wow, it sounds like Bob's learned a few tricks lately.
You got it. Let's get a little bit closer there. We can understand you a little better, but I got a copy on you.
Yeah, the difference is like night and day.
Well, that's definitely good to hear. Come on, Sean. I'm out through the trees here now. See if I can get a clear spot and shoot you back.
Oh, I can hear you just fine.
How's that? Any better?
Oh, I can hear you just fine.
Coming up on the 131 exit now.
Copy the 131.
I think changing the antenna out on this thing might actually make a pretty good difference. Like I said, I can get you out in the distance, but it's kind of hard to understand you.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Come on, Sean.
What kind of radio is it?
What was that?
What kind of radio is it?
Couldn't quite make out what that was there.
What kind of radio is it?
It is a Striker 655.
Copy the 655.
I got a pretty good copy on you now.
Hey, so how did you see that Roadstar video? Where did you find that at?
I found it on that trucker forum site.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't even want to start a new thread. I figured it was easier just to tack it on to a pre-existing one.
Yeah, I'm actually glad I got to hear that, man. That thing sounded horrible.
Yeah, most people have no idea what their stuff sounds like.
Yeah, I got a real good copy on you now. I'm Mahanoy City.
Copy that. Yeah, most people really have no idea what their stuff sounds like. I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't even bother asking you what this one sounds like because I already know.
You sound just like you do on any of the videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Anytone really sounds good.
Yeah, this is with the original Road King 56 microphone right here.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, it sounds real nice.
I'll put the stock mic on and let you hear it.
Alright, copy that.
That right there is a stock microphone.
That doesn't sound too bad. A little bit louder, but we might be getting closer now. A little bit more muffled than the other mic.
Yeah, it's got a little bit better low-end frequency response, which has absolutely no benefit to reaching out and touching somebody.
Yeah, only good for up close and personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, this mic is one of those static 636s. Nothing spectacular.
Yeah, this is the sound that cuts through the airwaves right here.
Well, so the radio sounds quite a bit better, huh?
The difference is like night and day.
That's good.
I have a hard time believing that's the same radio.
I'm actually surprised we're getting out this far with how low these coils sit on these antennas.
I got better ears than most people. I sent you my GPS coordinates so you could measure the distance from that 127 or whatever to where I'm at. Hey, how long did it take him to go through that radio and fix it?
I'm coming up through the rock cut now. I got you faintly, but I couldn't really
fine.
Yeah, we're back in the clear now.
I heard you the whole time.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, I could get you faintly, but I couldn't quite make out what you were saying.
Yeah, it's hard to find a technician that can make your receive pull in those signals.
Now your ears are a little better than mine.
Hey, frankly, I'm kind of surprised at how good it sounds.
Come on, Sean. We're coming up around McAdoo now.
Copy the McAdoo.
I got you loud and clear now. Hey, the other morning we were talking there, I could have swore you were on a base.
I'm in a Chevy Tahoe.
That was big enough to be a base, I guess.
Yeah, sounds can be deceiving. It's one of the smallest radios on the planet. It's about the size of a Cobra 25.
I got another striker sitting at the house, 447, I guess about the same chassis size, right?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, they're, supposedly it's pick up the same footprint as the 25.
I'm trying to figure out where mile marker 127 is.
It's, just past Frackville. Pretty much, about, I think it's a mile past the exit. I think Frackville's 126.
Yeah, Frackville's 124. The map doesn't, they only show exit numbers. It doesn't show mile markers.
Yeah, copy that. I really got you good once I got up to the scale there at the 131. Now I'm over here at the 140 and a half. I got you real loud and clear.
I'm going to take a snapshot of what the terrain is like between the 127 where I'm sitting, just so you can kind of get a picture of what it's like in between the 127 and where I'm sitting.
Well, you know, between all the rock cuts on the highway and the trees on the sides and everything else, there's really very little clearing. I believe it's probably about, 25 miles straight line as a crow flies?
That's pretty damn close, actually. But in between there and where I'm at, two mountain peaks that your signal had to go over in order for me to hear you.
Yeah, like I said, I'm actually very surprised. I have the short shaft Browning antenna on here now, the FR78, and the top of the coil is even with the top of my mirror. Once I get home, I'm going to put that serial antenna on there. It's got that 10-inch shaft. That should help, but like you said, we could probably even make a bigger shaft for it and get it up higher.
Yeah. That's probably your cheapest route. I mean, that loading coil is nice, and by putting a longer shaft on it, you're not going to have to drastically shorten the whip. So I would just measure how long it is with the whip that's on it, and then subtract that from 81 inches, and then whatever you come up with, that's how long I'd cut the shaft.
I believe, well, with the 8-inch shaft on their website, I can't remember 100%, but I believe it was 79 inches overall. I ordered one with a 10-inch shaft, so that should put me right there, 81 inches overall. I'll measure it when I get home, though.
I mean, it's possible that coil might be a little on the short side. I don't know much about them, but I know they're pretty well constructed. Believe it or not, that oil-filled antenna they sell for $26 at the truck stops, that's a good antenna. I mean, you get a lot for your money with that thing. If you were to just take make a 4-foot shaft and screw that right into the bottom of that load, that would get it up about where you need it.
Yeah, Yeah, my dad ran them for years. He always loved them. He went over to the Wilson 2000. He runs around the W900, and where that sits on top of the mirror, that's just about perfect. I mean, granted, the antenna's not exactly, that full length, but he doesn't really need it, I guess, with it being roof height.
Yeah, I always try to tell people how to spend the least amount of money and get the most point in buying fancy stuff if you don't need it.
Yeah, I hear that. I came across Mr. Ward there on his Facebook page, and him and Hod back and forth. I really like the Striker radio, and he had a pretty decent deal going on there, but he was selling it as peaked and tuned. I told him, I said, I don't want it tuned. I don't want the chicken lights in it. I just want the radio with the export mod, maybe turn up the audio a little bit, and be a static mic. And that's what he sent me, but he sent it to me, and it came with the lights in it, and he had it smacked out to the max.
Hey, if you had to say something to people that were contemplating purchasing radios from Roadstar Communications, what would you tell them?
Be real specific. I wouldn't buy a peaked and tuned radio from him. He obviously needs to be, do a little bit more homework. He was a real nice guy as far as the transaction and talking to and communicating with. His work wasn't really up to par. Even Bob out there in Strattonville was not happy with what he's seen in the radio. I would imagine Mark would probably lose his mind. But if you're going to spend money on a radio, I would just look in with fine tune and be done with it.
Yeah, I think Mark's going to be surprised too when he hears how good it sounds.
Bob spent about an hour on it. I had the amp there with it. I told him I wanted the radio matched to it because I did want to run the amp eventually. He was not happy when he opened the case up. He just sat there shaking his head. And he spent about an hour poking and prodding around in there, and evidently he's got it sounding pretty good. Current location 146/9.
So you're just past past that exit right there.
I just came over in the clearing there for the valley. But as of right now, RF power is maxed out. Mic gain's maxed out. Echo is at about 9 o'clock. Talk back is at 12.
Wow, I forgot to mention, that's Mark wanted me to tell you to crank that mic gain wide open and then have the echo on and let me hear it. I forgot about that part. So you got the mic gain wide open?
Yeah, copy.
Wow. Yeah, I'm really surprised. It sounds much better.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure how it would be with the mic gain wide open. I just figured the hell with it, crank it out and see what happens.
I guess Bob got tired of people making fun of him or something, and maybe must have learned some stuff, because, it definitely sounds better than what I used to hear when I was running coast to coast.
Yeah, he keeps his head down back by his bench now, and he's got an installer that works there that's doing, coax and what have you. Another guy that runs the register and the counter, and pretty much you don't even talk to Bob, you talk to that guy, and he relays the message to Bob, and if Bob has anything to say, he relays it back.
Hey, what kind of test equipment does Bob have on his bench nowadays?
To be honest with you, I have no idea. You can't see his bench. He's got it blocked by 2 monitor screens, and he's back in the corner.
Oh, is he in the back room, or because his bench used to be right behind the counter?
Well, yeah, it's right behind the counter, but he's got the 2 workspaces there. Now he's all the way in the back corner behind the counter, and he's got a big monitor, kind of blocking his view from the counter.
Yeah, it's been a long time. This antenna I got on my Chevy I bought from Bob. It's a Wilson 5000 roof mount.
No kidding. Yeah, I mean, as far as selection of accessories. He's got a ton of stuff up there. That antenna we were talking about, I seen 3 or 4 of just the coils hanging on the shelf. I didn't see a complete antenna.
Yeah, once that stuff's gone, they're gone, because the guy that made them, he passed away. So fortunately, I had to make me a bunch of parts years ago, and I still got parts, but I ended up selling my hydraulic press when my ex and I split up, so I haven't gotten set back up with a shop where I can put stuff together yet, but I can, I mean, I have some things that are put together already, but for your truck, ideally the load should be as small as possible, and so there's a piece of fiberglass that gets pressed into these 2 end caps. Truck, ideally you'd want one as small as possible to make it as lightweight as possible. That way it's not too much weight up too high, causing it to swing all over the place.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to steer away from with a taller shaft on the antenna. Where I live and park the truck and go through a little bit of trees, nothing to really bother it. Like I banged the very tip of the antenna off one of the branches now. These antennas are a little bit shorter than that Serio. They're probably only 6 foot or so. But I think, as long as it's even roof height, it wouldn't really bother anything.
So now that we got that 25-mile thing figured out, it'll be interesting to see, for you to pay attention to the next time you barely hear somebody, to see how far away they are, to see how far they can hear you.
Yeah, I tried a few times earlier today. Like I said, I was talking to Easy Money down there in Baltimore, and when I started hearing him, I was in Manassas, and I reached out to him, and there was a lot of noise on the channel, so I don't think he heard me. He didn't really start hearing me till I got up above Dumfries.
I don't know where any of those places are, but do you know where he was situated?
He's over on the south side of Baltimore, I believe, over down by the southeast side. He's over by that TA there, by the tunnel. And I was over on 95 at about the 159 mile marker when I started hearing him.
How far do you think you were, but how much distance do you think there was between you guys when he heard you?
I'd really have to look on the map, but I know if you're coming out of the tunnel there in Baltimore on 95, that's exit 57, I believe, or mile marker 57 rather, and I was at the 159, and they go down numerically, so. He was probably hitting me close to 80 miles, but I know he runs an amp. And when he started hearing me, I was on almost a 495, so yeah, there's a little bit of distance between us, but probably not too much.
Yeah.
This is definitely the longest I've talked on this radio. I'm now on 80. I'm over here at the 262.
Yeah, I figured I'd sit here and record until I can't hear you no more, and then I'll hit the stop button.
Yeah, I'm figuring probably, I don't think I'll get to the turnpike before you can't hear me anymore.
You might be surprised.
I would be surprised. I know you get through some mountains and whatnot through here, but you pretty much have a straighter line of shot with me going across 80 than you did with me on 81.
Yeah. I sent you a picture of the terrain. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I see. I got a notification on my phone there. I didn't look yet.
Alright. Yeah, Mark was saying that guy sounds like a good driver, because I described to him that you just stumbled across that video. Once you realized how bad it sounded, you actually went out and did something about it. That's when Mark said, oh, that sounds like a real good driver.
Yeah, I wasn't going to deal with, having a crappy sounding radio. And next step, like I said, I reached out to Mark this morning through Facebook. I'd like to grab one of his 955s.
Hey, what exactly did you say to Mark? Unless Mark knows you, or Mark's kind of, he picks and chooses who he responds to, so depending on how you ask the question or something, might determine whether he gets back to you or not.
Just, told him good morning, that I was expressing some interest in the radio. Told him I would, would like to purchase a 955 off of him. Gave him my phone number and just thanked him. That was it.
Oh, okay. I'll have to shoot him a message and make sure he checks that.
I'll add you on Facebook there once we get done with this here, and that way you know what my last name is and etc. I'd rather not say it on the air. Not that it matters, but you never know.
Yeah, that's alright. Hey, did you see that recording I made of myself? Where I put the recorder in the yard truck and then I drove to the other side of the parking lot and started talking, and the recorder was in the yard truck hooked up to a Cobra 29.
No, I didn't. I'll have to check that out. I watched, it was the mountain terrain one there. It was about a 36-minute long video. I think you were talking to a guy named Jason. He had a striker, and then I watched the video there with your buddy with the Cascadia, and then a couple of the other CB shop videos.
Yeah, he didn't even have his echo turned on, and when I first heard him, which explains why his audio sounded kind of weak. But then when I got done helping him with his antenna, I had him set it exactly the way he was supposed to set it, and I was sitting literally next to the hood of his truck, right next to him, when he keyed up full power, and he was just booming in my receive with no distortion. And the point of me doing that was to show my receiver, because most people would get front end overload by being so close to somebody.
Yeah, I know. Usually in the truck stop and whatnot, if you don't turn the power down, the guys can't understand you. You just kind of garbled in the background.
Yeah, that show how I could be so close to somebody and they could still sound crystal clear. Like, that's, most people don't have a hard figuring that out.
Yeah, it's a good radio you got there. On the videos it sounds almost like you're just talking into the recorder, but you sound exactly on the radio like you do on the video.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised the other morning there. I come up, I was climbing up out of Wilkes-Barre and I started to hear you. And you were talking to another guy there, and once I got coming down the hill by the split, that's when I really got to hear you good. I was pretty amazed at how clear that radio was.
Yeah, there's a local guy around here. He delivers newspapers for a living, and when I get off work, usually he's floating around Hazleton area delivering newspapers, and he's got a cheap little radio in his pickup truck. But it's stock, just a bone stock, cheap little radio, and it sounds good. Nice and loud and clear.
Yeah, everybody thinks you need this magic peak and tune to sound good on the radio, and half the time they sound better stock than they ever did peak and tune.
Yeah, and that's the point I always try to tell people. Don't throw your money away on a peak and tune or whatever unless you do some serious research first, because you'll probably be throwing your money away.
Exactly. And speaking of tuning and whatnot, as far as what Bob did with this one to set it up, to match it with the amp, with the RF power cranked all the way up, it was set at a 1 watt dead key and swing to 40, 45. That's
kind of scary sounding right there.
That's what he told me anyway, so who knows how much right it is, but as far as on the meter on the screen here, anywhere between 30 and 40 watts is what it was showing.
Yeah, because at 100% modulation, it would swing to 4 watts if it's set at 1 watt carrier. So he's like, it's stretching it out that high. Not cool. I don't know how he's managing to do that.
Nobody out there. I'm 269 over 2 now, and you're just starting to fade back into the distance. I can almost make out what you're saying, but not quite.
I can still hear you just fine.
Just passing the rest area on eastbound 80 now.
Alright.
We're at the 273 now. I don't know if you can still hear me or not, but I haven't heard you in a little while.
I still hear you.
Oh yeah, I got you back there. You're faint, but I got you.
Yeah, when you were at the rest area, there was a tall mountain in between us that your signal had to jump over.
Oh, we almost made the turnpike. Not quite.
Yeah, there's no power lines at this little dirt spot where I park. So it's like, I don't have to worry about, static coming in and screwing up my receive.
Yeah, I got a copy on you now. I come up out of the valley there. I'm up on the mountain, 274 now.
Copy the 274.
So we're probably, we don't get much more straight than this. We're probably about 10 miles apart now with a lot of mountain in between us.
We're more than 10 miles apart. We were about 10 miles apart when you passed the rest area.
That's true. I'm 2 miles from the turnpike now.
Hey, so next time somebody says they're having a hard time hearing you, 5 miles away, tell them they need to get their receiver looked at.
Well, get the right antenna on this truck. I might even be able to talk to you from the house.
It's possible. I've talked to Port Jervis from the pilot before.
I'm over right by Lake Walpolback, so not far from Port Jervis.
Oh, okay.
I'm right off exit 20 on 84.
Yeah, that rest area is 80 miles as the crow flies. The rest area on the New York side is 80 miles as the crow flies from the pilot over here off of 80.
Still got a copy on me here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you pretty much back loud. I'm crossing over the turnpike now.
Oh, okay, so you're heading... Oh, you're going to continue going east?
Yeah, I'm gonna go east at 380. Get off 380.
Oh, cool. So I'll be able to listen while you get further away.
Yep, yeah, I'm going to Tobyhanna, so...
Alright.
Probably if I lose you through here, I'd probably pick you back up on Mount Pocono there.
Alright.
I'm somewhat out in the clear here now, 379 and a half.
Copy that. I can hear you just fine.
279 and a half.
I hear you just fine.
How about it?
I hear you just fine.
282 over 2.
I heard you yell out a mile marker, but I wasn't sure what it was.
Coming by Blakely exit now. A little wide and cleared up here. Starting to come up on top of the hill. Might hear me a little better.
I hear you just fine.
9 miles to go to 380.
Copy the 9 miles to the 380. Like I said, I got really good ears.
291. 291.
Copy the 291.
That would be 2 miles from the 380, 81, 80 split.
Copy the 2 miles from the split.
Sean. How about it, Sean? How about Harley, Charlie? Him disappeared. Anybody else out here?
Your radio's working.
Oh, yeah. Sean. Yeah. Yeah, the pilot's 175. Okay. So, I'll be there for noonish. Okie dokie, me too. And the wife? Yep. That'll just be us three. Because my wife ain't going nowhere. My granddaughter's here from Maryland. Oh, okay. But I will be there, and then we'll try to figure out where to go. Sounds like a plan, Stan. All right,
right there, Charlie.